Please check that your cell phones are switched off or silent. I'm working a lot in Africa these days. People are very poor there. So if your cell phone rings, we'll accept it as a donation. Please also keep your pocket camera in your pocket. And that's it for technology. So it's very good that we're gathered here on the occasion of this Surya Grahan. One of my godbrothers joked that there's different gradations of eclipses. The Chandra Grahan is less serious, Surya Grahan is more serious, and the most serious is Pani Grahan. So this is Surya Grahan. It will be over in an hour or so. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Tatati Shakadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jata Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitamstam Sajivam Shadvaitam Shabadhutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha Krishna Pristaya Kutale Sri Mate Krishna He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading Bhagavat Gita as it is. Texts, chapter 3, texts 36 and 37. Arjuna uvaca, Ata kena prayukto yam papam chariti purushaha anicchan api varshneya balariva niyojita. Arjuna said, I see. My technology this time. Okay. I'll have to donate it for Africa also. Arjuna said, O descendant of Viddhy, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged in force, engaged by force? Lord Krishna had told Arjuna that everyone should perform his prescribed duty and should stick to that duty. He shouldn't pick up someone else's work. He should stick to his own work. But now, Arjuna says, what is it that makes one give up one's prescribed duties and papam purusha, papam chadati purusha, to act sinfully? Purport: a living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme, is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contaminations. In the Shastra it said, asango hiyam purusha. The living being has no connection with material nature. He has nothing to do with material nature. He's nitya shashvata yam purana. He's spiritual by nature, pure. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he's in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways, without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he's still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the supersoul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. Baladi viniyojita, as if by force. Sri-bhagavan uvaca, kamah krodha rajo-guna-samudbhavah, mahasano maha-papma, viddhy vairinam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion, and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. Purport: when a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion. Or, in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Elsewhere in the Bhagavat Gita, Lord Krishna says, Purusha prakritisto hi bhunkte prakritijan gunan karanam guna-sangasya sadasad yoni janmashu. Purusha prakritisto hi. Purusha means the enjoyer. Actually, the enjoyer is Krishna, but the living entity thinks himself to be the enjoyer, and therefore he willingly comes in touch with prakriti, or material nature. Purusha prakritisto hi, and bhunkte prakritijan gunan. Why does he come in touch with material nature? Bhunkte, to enjoy. There's every kind of enjoyment in this material world. Prakritijan gunan, born of the qualities of material nature. Some people have a taste for enjoyment in ignorance. Some people have taste for enjoyment in passion. Some people have a taste for enjoyment in goodness, or some mixture of these qualities in so many different ways. Punkte prakriti janguna. Material nature is offering every kind of attraction produced by her three material modes. And when we try to enjoy, then what is the result? Vairinam guna-sangasya. Then we become associated with material nature. Asando hiyam purusha. We have nothing to do with material nature, no relationship. But why is there a relationship? Because we want to enjoy material nature. And therefore we ourselves establish this relationship. And sadasat yoni janmashu, this becomes the cause of repeated birth and death in higher species, lower species. And why? To enjoy. Enjoy means that we'll suffer like dogs, but our goal is to enjoy. This is called Maya. One time Srila Prabhupada gave an example. He was performing a fire ceremony for initiation at New Vrindavan, actually. And while he was performing the ceremony, he took a piece of wood and dug it a little bit into the sand and picked it up. And he said, "This is very instructive." What is that? On the sand, there were some dead moths who had flown into the fire and died. Prabhupada said the fire doesn't jump out at the moth, but the moth, being attracted by the glitter of the fire, thinks, "Let me enjoy," and flies in. Then finished. So this is the position. We have nothing to do with material nature. Therefore we have nothing to do with birth, death, disease, and old age. We have nothing to do with the troubles of this material world, the struggle for existence in the material world. But we have a desire to enjoy. That desire to enjoy is called lust. Lust, generally we think of lust as being sex desire. But any kind of desire, let me enjoy, that's also lust. Of course, sex is the headline attraction. Everything else, if I can live without an iPad, that's not a very important thing, but sex, people will die for. Literally. Someone's chasing after some married woman at the risk of being beaten or killed by her husband and other relatives. But he thinks, "I love her so much. I would die for you." And they take the risk that they might have to die. So this is called Maya. What enjoyment will I get? Whatever enjoyment I would get from the married woman, I would get from an unmarried woman or from my own wife. Why should I risk my life? But out of illusion, they're thinking something special. So, and then, suppose lust is unsatisfied, then we become angry. It's about Lord Shiva. You probably know the history that the demigods wanted to get a commander-in-chief who would be born of the union of Lord Shiva and Parvati, or would be born of Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva was doing tapasya, meditation, so where was the question of getting a child? So they engaged Parvati, young girl, to attract him, to arouse his desires. Cupid was given the charge. So Lord Shiva was so sober that he wasn't aroused. But he became so angry that by his glance he burned Cupid to ashes. The force of anger can be even stronger than the force of desire or lust. When one becomes angry, he becomes practically crazy. Kamad bhavati sammohat smriti brahmshad buddhi nasho. Kamat krodho vijayate. When one becomes frustrated in satisfying his desires, then he becomes angry. And then he becomes completely bewildered. It's even become a fashion, kind of a fashion statement these days. I don't know about Bombay, but in New York and other places, you see the fashion models, and the look is not how happy and peaceful I am. The look is like, I'm damn angry. Here too, right? Don't mess with me. Out of my way. Because the advertisers have done their research, and they see that people are full of anger. Their desires are not satisfied because kama rupa durasada, the nature of material desires, it'll never be satisfied. So then when it's not satisfied, I become angry. Even we see practically, we understand from the police department that the majority of violent crimes are committed at home. The man becomes angry and he beats his wife, hits her over the head with an iron pipe or something. Or the wife shoots the husband. No, these are everyday occurrences. Because they're thinking that I entered this relationship to enjoy. And I'm not enjoying. And it's your fault. It's you. And they just get worked up and worked up and worked up and worked up. And it becomes uncontrollable. And then later he thinks, what did I do? I've killed my wife. I've killed my husband. Because krodhat bhavati sammohat smriti brahmshamaha smriti brahmshad buddhi nasho buddhi nashad pranashati. By lust it devolves into anger. Anger becomes bewilderment, sammoha. Then he forgets who he is, what he's doing. And his intelligence goes out the window. And when his intelligence is lost, pranashati, then he's finished. Although he's described in the Bhagavat Gita as being wise by nature, the living entity is by nature jnanina. He's full of knowledge. Satchidananda. So Chit means he's full of knowledge. But he becomes a fool by the influence, by contact with material nature. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. The bewildered civilization thinks that they're advancing by advancing in passion and ignorance. If they can open casinos, if they can have bars and clubs, then that's progressive. If we can have sex here, we can kiss and embrace anywhere and everywhere, we can have sex with anyone. College is so nice because we can go to college and enjoy. And they're thinking, we're making progress. But the progress is progress in passion and ignorance, which are the lower modes of material nature. The goodness is the higher mode, and that the mode of goodness, sattva sanjayate jnanam. The mode of goodness leads to knowledge. It's conducive to knowledge. Rajaso lobha evacha. And the mode of passion is conducive to greed and lust. And the moho tamaso pavatya jnanam evacha. And the mode of ignorance is conducive to darkness, and again, tamagun, the mode of darkness, is conducive to ignorance. We see this practically. People get drunk and they can't tell their head from their feet. They can't tell anything from anything else. They're just drunk. They're in darkness. Or sometimes they're crazy, they sing, they do all sorts of things that they wouldn't have done if they were in control of their right minds. It's the mode of ignorance. Alcohol, drugs, and so on. And in the mode of passion, it's not that low, but it's full of thirst, rajo-guna-samudbhavah. There's just like food. Krishna says there's food in goodness, food in passion. The food in passion is food really salty, really hot, really sweet. It's exciting. So you 1, 2, 3, 4, more and more and more and more. And what does it lead to? Dukkha shokamaya prada. It leads to misery and disease. Because if we go on eating this kind of food, then we eat too much, and it's junk to begin with. And in so many ways it causes trouble. But people they just want to eat in the mode of passion. And the mode of ignorance, they just eat garbage. Sometimes literally they pick up garbage and eat it. Or they pick up something which is rotten, like alcohol is basically rotten. Or old cheese. It's like a great delicacy in certain parts of the world to have some cheese which is 20 or 30 years old. Has nice blue mold on it. Smells like from one side of the street to the other. And that attracts people in the mode of ignorance. Animal food attracts people who are affected by ignorance. Any doctor will say this is bad for your health. Any spiritually advanced person will say this is so sinful, so much karma is coming. The Shastra says for every hair on the animal, suppose you're eating cow flesh, so for every hair on the cow you have to die and take another birth. But they're thinking it tastes good. So this is ignorance. It's like a person who's eating poison. He doesn't know that it's poison. Otherwise, why would he? But he's in ignorance. So in ignorance, all rotten, nasty things, sinful things. In passion. And in goodness, simple food, healthy, giving strength, giving satisfaction. And he takes some and he's satisfied. Yes, that's good. Now I can carry on. It's got taste, it's got everything, but it's not the greatest sensation you ever had. Just simple, nice, healthy. So the passion and ignorance are the lower modes of nature, and they lead to dissatisfaction, frustration, and suffering. And we come in touch with those modes, but if we, instead of following passion down to ignorance, instead if we elevate ourselves to the mode of goodness, then we can from there move forward to the spiritual platform. Therefore, sato-vritti, one should live in goodness so that he can make further progress. And therefore this is a misdirected civilization, because they're thinking that we're advancing by getting more and more and more and more, and doing anything and everything. And they don't know the consequences. Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever-increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. This is the problem. Krishna is fully independent, Swarat. And because we're parts of Krishna, we have a little independence also. The same independence in a little tiny quantity. And independence means that you're free to misuse it. When we misuse it, then we're in conditioned life. Our natural position is that we're servants of Krishna. And we're meant to give enjoyment to Krishna. But when we think, why should I give enjoyment? Why shouldn't I take enjoyment? Then here we are in the material world. The original thing is love, but it's transformed into lust. All the world, there's love, 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 love. You know, all the billboards and so many, everywhere there's love. But the love is lust, that's all. What's the difference? Krishnendriya priti vancha tari bale. Atmendriya priti vancha tare balikam, Krishnendriya priti vancha tare premanam. When I want to satisfy my own senses, that's lust. And when I want to satisfy Krishna's senses, that's love. Srila Kaviraj Goswami gives a very nice example of the difference. He says that iron and gold are both metals. This is metal, that's metal. But the value of iron and the value of gold are very different. Somebody says, what's the difference? This is metal, that's metal. But iron and gold are very different. So when we want to satisfy our own senses, that's love. Transformed or perverted, perverted, bent out of shape, by being misdirected toward, not even toward ourselves. I want to enjoy. But what do I do to enjoy? I engage myself in trying to satisfy the senses of this material body, which I'm not. I'm not this body. That's the first teaching by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. But what am I doing? I'm serving the senses of this body. The more passion and ignorance increase, the more I become the servant of my senses. The senses want more. The senses want more. The tongue wants more. The eyes want more. The ears want more. The genitals want more. And we become Godas, servants of those senses. If you look at it from a physiological point of view, it's a little piece of flesh. The tongue is a little piece of flesh this big. Some water on it, some blood in it, some, neuroreceptors and little electrical wiring going to the brain. And I'm busy going here and there to satisfy that little thing. People they work hard day and night, and then they take so much of their money and they go to a restaurant, and in 2 hours the money's gone. For that little red thing in the mouth. And then the little red thing doesn't say, well, that was great, thank you very much, now I'm satisfied. It says, well, that was good, now what's next? That's okay for a start, but I want more. Similarly, the eyes want more, the ears want more, the genitals want more. And one becomes a servant of these senses. And the result is the senses are not satisfied, and I'm not satisfied. But the senses won't let me go. They won't say, well, all right, if you decided you made a mistake and you don't want to serve us anymore, well, it's been nice knowing you. At least no. It's your business to satisfy us. You can't stop. One becomes a servant of the senses. Means the servant of this body, which is destined to become earth if it's buried, ashes if it's burnt, or vulture dung if it's thrown to the vultures. And for that, we're dedicating this valuable human lifetime. For the same purpose which the animals are engaged. They're also very busy satisfying their senses, trying to satisfy their senses, and from one point of view, doing a better job of it. How much sex can I have? Somebody says, well, I have sex every night. We say, wow. The monkey hears that you have sex every night. He says, so what? You know, every 20 minutes or so, I've got another opportunity. For eating, okay, I eat. But what am I compared to the elephant or the hippopotamus? So the human life is not meant for that. Human life is meant for spiritual realization. When we're bewildered by passion and ignorance, then we use the human body for the same purpose as the animal body. It's like using what they say in the West, using a chisel for a screwdriver. Some tool meant for one thing, we're using it for some other thing. The human body, nayam deho deha bhajamra loke, kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujamye. Rishabdev Maharaj told his sons, my dear boys, this human life, ayam deha, is not meant for the happiness which is found by the vidbhujam. Vidbhujam means the village hog which eats stool. They're also enjoying sense gratification according to their taste. So the human life is not meant for that. It's meant for Brahma Jigyasa, for spiritual inquiry. How can I get out of this entanglement? This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, one should inquire into the Supreme. And the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmadyasya yaton vayaditiratascha, or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahma. Therefore the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. Krishna has a desire to enjoy, so we have a desire to enjoy. The origin is Krishna. Our origin is Krishna. But durashaya ye bahirartamanina. We're distracted by the material energy. Nate vidus vartakatimi Krishna. We don't know that the real source of our self-interest is Krishna. When we take the course of trying to satisfy the senses of Krishna, that's actual love, and that's where the actual happiness is. And we take the other course, trying to satisfy our senses, we become frustrated. We have to struggle so much, working hard, simply for a little sense gratification. Durashaya ye bahir, which is always about to be found. It's a promise. You do this and you'll enjoy. Well, you got this far, maybe you haven't enjoyed, but a little further and you'll enjoy. Yeah, you did it this way, but if you did it that way, you were with her, but if you were with her, sankalpa prabhavan kamams. It's sarvan parta manogatan. It's a mental concoction. There's a very famous actress from a couple decades ago in America, Marilyn Monroe. She was a very, what do they say, a sex symbol. And she said, I'm a failure in sex. Because men expect that, with me, the firecrackers are going to go off, and it's going to be something. She said, but I've got the same, physiological makeup as every other woman. but they're imagining something. They're imagining something. Arjuna asked, what is the symptom of a self-realized soul? Krishna said, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogata. Atmanyeva atmanatushtasthita prakastadachate. The symptom is that he leaves aside these so many desires which are manogata, which are products of mental concoction. I'm imagining. And the advertising industry is meant to help you imagine. Sometimes they even use that word, imagine. Yeah. You start imagining. But it's all imagination. The whole material world as a place of enjoyment is an imagination. Ravana was imagining that he could enjoy with Sita. And instead he was just ruined. People are imagining that if they drink this, or if they smoke that, or if they do this or they do that, then they'll enjoy. But it's not there. Imagination means something that's in the mind only. It doesn't really exist. They're imagining so many things. And then the business takes the form of what Prabhupada called agitating the mind for sense gratification. The mode of passion means the more the mind is agitated, then the more I become engaged in some way satisfying the increasingly agitated mind. And that means more enjoyment, because the mind is more agitated. Whatever I do to satisfy the mind is going to be more thrilling. And the result is that one becomes a madman. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma. He does anything, probably anything sinful. Yad indriya viti or apranot. It says just to satisfy the senses. So instead of being bewildered by that maya, one is advised to turn one's attention toward Krishna and try to please Krishna's senses, because when we're engaged in the business of trying to please Krishna's senses, then our senses automatically become pleased. We're trying in so many ways to satisfy our senses or satisfy our hearts, but we're never satisfied, because it's not who we are. The very basis is wrong. I'm not an enjoyer of these material resources. I'm a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the origin of all bliss, all happiness. Everything is there. The happiness comes in a relationship with Krishna, not in a relationship with Maya. But Maya is trying to persuade us, no, you like it here. You've tried this, but you haven't tried that. So, one is meant to turn toward Krishna. Therefore, if therefore lust is transformed into love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Ram, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana. But by doing so, he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavat Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. The Kama Krishna Kamarpane. Yes, desire can be used, can be turned into a desire to please Krishna. Now I'm desiring to please my senses. If I simply desire to please Krishna, my life becomes nice. There's a lot more to be said about these verses and verses that follow. Let's see, how are we? Okay. Maybe at this point we'll take a question or two and see how we're doing. Yes? Did we have a microphone? There it is.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, many times Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavat Gita has translated many verses which directly talks about Jnana Yoga, and he has inserted the words like devotional service, or he has inserted the words like Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one of my friends was asking me that if you say that you have to accept Bhagavat Gita as it is, then why don't you accept all these verses also as it is?
We do. You're only reading one verse and you're not reading the rest of the book. You're objecting that Jnani is described as a Krishna conscious person or a person engaged in devotional service. But Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. After many, many births of cultivating Jnana, the person who actually becomes Jnanavan, in possession of Jnana, mam prapadyate, surrenders to me. That means he performs devotional service. So Jnana finally means to understand that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul, I'm servant of Krishna.
One more place, Prabhupada mentions about this when Krishna talks about the Ashtanga Yoga. There also Prabhupada mentions about the Bhakti Yoga only.
Bahunam yoginam api sarvesham madgatein antaratmana shradhavan bhajate yo mam sameyukta tamomata. Just read the whole chapter.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Of all yogis, Krishna says, the one who's engaged in devotional service is the best. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
In 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells that I am telling this knowledge, complete knowledge to you, and after knowing this knowledge, there shall not be any further thing which needs to be known to you. Then why Hare Krishna mantra is not explained in Bhagavad Gita?
No, in Bhagavad Gita, the Krishna says, Satatam kirtiyanto mam yatantas chadridha prataha namasyantas tu mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. When he describes the engagement of the mahatmas, daivim prakriti ashrata, they take shelter of the spiritual energy of the Lord. And what are they doing? They're always having kirtan. Satatam kirtayanto mam. So how do you say it's not in Bhagavad Gita? We're chanting Hare Krishna. Hare means addressing the spiritual energy, daivim prakritim ashrita. And mam, we're addressing Krishna. So how is it not in Bhagavad Gita? Sthane rishikesha tava prakirtya. My dear Krishna, the whole world becomes joyful by hearing you glorified.
Can I ask a second question? In 13th chapter, there is a verse known as Neyam yat tat pravakshami yadnyatva amrutam ashnuti. Anadi param brahma na sat na asat. So the Brahma, there Prabhupada has said that Brahman is spirit, like soul. But in next verse, it is said that sarvatah panipadam tat sarvak shishuro mukham. Like, so Neyam is a singular, ekvachan. So then if we take it directly, then it comes as, Brahman is having hands everywhere are his hands and everywhere are his legs. So it is like, impersonalism. So
not impersonal. Brahma is personal, but realized only partially. When realized only partially, then we have the impersonal feature of the Absolute.
No, in that verse, Neyam yat tat pravakshami, Brahman is translated.
Sarvato panipadam tat. He has his hands and legs everywhere.
So
then how can he be without qualities? Nirgun. A hand has qualities, a leg has qualities. Sarvatokshi, ears have qualities. Shiro mukham, heads and mouths have qualities.
But the spirit...
So how can that be nirgun?
But the spirit soul is not having hands everywhere, no?
But Krishna has his hands everywhere, and your hands belong to him.
Okay, Maharaj.
Is that okay? This is one way that Krishna is everywhere. He's distributed in the form of the living entities throughout the creation. The living entities are also part of Krishna. So from that point of view, they're also not different from Krishna. The only difference is that Krishna is the unlimited supreme whole, and we're the tiny little parts. But the part is also identical with Krishna, because he's the energy of Krishna. So Krishna is called Brahma, we're also called Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi. I'm also Brahma. Krishna is also Brahma. But Krishna is Param Brahma. He's the Supreme Brahma. Yes? The microphone is still with you? Where is it?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay, you've got it.
Thank you Maharaj for your wonderful lecture. I want to know why we have got Maharaj such senses which always distract us.
Because we want them. Yeah, that's what Prabhupada said. Why is this material world here? Because we want it. Why is a pig attracted to eating stool? That's what he wanted. No, that's what he wanted, and so material nature says, all right, you wanted that, here, take a body where you can do that. You wanted to drink blood, here, become a mosquito or become a tiger. You want to have lots and lots of sex, become a monkey. You want this, take that, there's so many different forms. 8,400,000. So different kinds of sense gratification are available. And Maya is so, it's like, now they're trying to come to India, Walmart, a big retailer, and you go into the Walmart, they have what they call Super Walmart, and everything is there. And you go, wow. So the material world is the super ultra Walmart. You have... Maya has so many things. You want this, try that. Like you go into a store and there's, you can wear this, you can wear this, you can wear this, you can wear this. So the Maya has 8,400,000 different kinds of dresses. And you can put on whichever one you want, and then you're entitled to enjoy according to the dress. So why? Passion and ignorance. There's no enjoyment. Actually, there's nothing enjoyable. There's suffering. Yehi samsparsha jabhoga dukkha yoni evate. From the touch of the senses with their objects, that's sense gratification. What comes? Dukkha, misery. So what sensible person says, well, let me be miserable? Therefore, Rishabdev said, pramukta, he's totally mad. The conditioned soul is mad. He's going to, for enjoyment, he's going to do something that's going to make himself suffer. But that's the pathetic nature of the attempt to enjoy. Avritam jnanam etena jnanino nitya vairina. The wise living entity, jnana, becomes covered by lust. Avritam jnanam etena. His knowledge becomes covered. He's full of knowledge. Every one of us is full of knowledge. But avritam jnana, our knowledge is someplace under many, many layers, or under thick, thick layers of passion and ignorance. The Maya bewilders us through our senses, through our minds, through our confused intelligence. The intellectuals are busy thinking about ways to increase our enjoyment. That's called perverted intelligence. The senses have grabbed the mind, and the mind grabs the intelligence and says, I want it. How are we going to get it? The intelligence says, well, we can get it this way, we can get it that way. So through the polluted mind, intelligence, and senses, Maya covers the living being's knowledge. And we become servants of Maya. Is that okay? Yeah.
Maharaj. Maharaj, one boy, he was attracted to a girl. I told him...
Only one boy?
So, I told him you are lusty. He said, no, I am not attracted to the form, I am attracted to the qualities. So that's why I am not lusty. So how to answer him?
Yeah, that's what we say, prakriti jaya gunai. The one is attracted by the qualities produced of material nature. It's okay. We're not going to argue about whether you're attracted to the form or the qualities or whatever. But where's it coming from? What is this form produced from? What are these qualities produced from? Where are these activities produced, attractive activities produced from? They're produced from material nature. So that's what the thing is. Now what we're going to do about it, that's a separate question, but the first thing is let's know what it is. This is not that divine attraction to spiritual truth. You're attracted to the number one attraction in the material world. The male mosquito is attracted to the female mosquito.